Thanos had fully unleashed the Gauntlet's power, transforming into a giant monster that was definitely not green for trademark reasons. High energy light shot from his eyes, melting everything in its path.
The goddess of light has blessed me. The cleansing light of my eyes will burn all evil from the face of the earth.
How many times I killed the goddess? She can't bless anyone anymore.
And even under the earth you are not safe, you despicable creatures.
Thanos' laser eyes carved a hole in the ground that stretched down into the depths of the dungeon. If these lasers were to hit the dungeon heart, it would be the end of the absolute evil. Meanwhile, in the underground, Talia had other things she considered important.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna make some hackneyed crack about women and mirrors now, you miserable chauvinist. The fact is, that thing gives me a brilliant...
The laser eyes were leaving a trail of devastation through the dungeon. But in the middle of their path, by pure chance, of course, stood Talia's mirror.
Ah! What devilry! Talia, you vile thing! You are truly the most evil spawn that ever existed! Just wait until my eyes have recovered. Then my cleansing gaze will burn you to ashes!
That Thanos is such a miserable jerk. He doesn't even notice when he puts himself out of action. I mean, that was my ingenious plan all along, of course. Unfortunately, my mirror also broke in the process. Where am I going to get a new one now?
Talia and the Absolute Evil had nothing to counter Thanos' gigantic laser eyes at the moment. Both agreed that a strategic withdrawal from these lands was the wisest choice for the time being.
So, well, if that's what the narrator says, then that's probably what happened, right? But fine. For now, it probably really makes sense to get the hell out of Dodge. Forward, creatures! Line up in rows of 2. Hold the creature next to you by the hand, and then run away in panic!
While Talia gazed sadly at the remains of the mirror, the Council of Little Snots suddenly spoke up out of nowhere. It just so happened that they had just bought a huge stock of leftover mirrors, but since they all wore robes, where you could barely make out their faces, they didn't have any use for them. However, the Council of Little Snots was planning a huge feast called Thanks Gobbler. In exchange for some of those delicious birds, the Council was more than willing to provide one of manivores have appeared in your dungeon. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. A few manivores have appeared in your dungeon. A few of Tanos's more fanatical followers were not frightened by their leader's monstrosity, but rather encouraged. They gleefully rushed into the dungeon to attack it. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
A few manivores have appeared in your dungeon.
I may be momentarily blinded, but I have my eye drops here somewhere, and then we'll have a little talk, Talia.
Ding dong, it's payday. Manivores have appeared in your dungeon. Your little snots have discovered an artifact. Manivores have been discovered in your dungeon. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. Manivores have been discovered in your dungeon.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
My vision has cleared again. Time for some purifying fire. Look me in the eyes!
Tanos's eyes had calmed down again, and once more lasers shot out, burning through the underground. Your little snots have dug up a spider. The bonus-grabbing evil had stored an artifact in order to unleash its powers. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. A room in the dungeon was slowly being destroyed by Tanos's laser eyes. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon.
I would regret killing two of my children on the same day. I will give you one final chance to return to the light. Actually, you're not so different.
Are you already starting to throw out classic villain cliches? There's only room for one bad guy here, and that's me. And I'm having a lot of fun with it too.
So you choose the path of death?
The hopefully having a mirror at hand evil watched as another one of its rooms was targeted by Tanos's laser eyes. Another room in the dungeon was hit by Tanos's laser eyes. Enemies are in the dungeon. A room in the dungeon was hit by Tanos's laser eyes. Your little snots have dug up a spider. Your little snots have dug up a spider. Tanos's laser eyes struck yet another room. A few manivores have appeared in your dungeon. The hopefully having a mirror at hand evil watched as another one of its rooms was targeted by Tanos's laser eyes. Of Little Snots was more than pleased with the many delicious gobblers the farm-owning evil had sent them. Grateful for its delivery, the Council of Little Snots sent the reflectionless evil a shiny new mirror.
Splendid! This will help us stop Thanos. At least once.
Ah, my eyes! Talia, you vile creature! Dare to oppose the light! Good will always win!
Although the mirror had once again stopped Thanos, it again broke under the strain.
Oops. Now that's a little suboptimal. Does this mean I have to rely on that Council of Little Snots advice again?
The Council of Little Snots wanted some blight for their soon-to-be-held Halloween party to give it that authentic, putrid smell. In return, they would be only too happy to send the absolute evil one of their mirrors. Payday. An artifact had been stored and was now manifesting its powers.
if I momentarily cannot see the world, I can still feel the creeping fear that is spreading through the underground there. Talia, surrender now and beg forgiveness.
Oh, of course I beg forgiveness. I beg forgiveness for not putting your head on a freaking spear again.
One of your creatures has died.
It's payday.
Your little snots have dug up a spider.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
I may be momentarily blinded, but I have my eye drops here somewhere, and then we'll have a little talk, Talia.
Tanos's gaze was no longer clouded. Lasers shot out of his eyes and burned their way through the dungeon. Tanos's laser eyes hit a room in the dungeon and began to vaporize it. Musty smells wafted up the Council of Little Snot's noses as they took delivery of the fresh, or not so fresh, blight from the musty evil. Another mirror from the Council of Little Snots was delivered to the dungeon. Tanos's laser eyes hit a room in the dungeon. Tanos's laser eyes struck yet another room. Ding dong! It's payday! The hopefully having a mirror at hand evil watched as another one of its rooms was targeted by Tanos's laser eyes.
My eyes!
The Council of Little Snots felt not only mystical, but also magical. However, insomuch as the council members were as magical as moldy bread, they wished for some mana in exchange for a mirror. Evil's army reached a destroyed bridge, once known as the Bridge of Death, before countless swallows of unknown origin landed on it. Perhaps the nearby hero camp held an alternative way to cross the gorge. The invading Evil's armies had captured a city belonging to Tanos' fanatical followers. A mysterious portal lay within. Happily sending its creatures through weird portals, Evil had successfully used a teleportation portal and thus managed to lead its creatures across the gorge.
You will have to account for your actions. Once I have purified you, then you can face the goddess herself and ask for forgiveness. I can no longer forgive you.
Oh, the things you worry about, you crazy old man. I'm just picking out the right spear for your friggin' head. Maybe this one.
Ding dong! It's payday! The conquering Evil had destroyed a second base full of Tanos' fanatics. Its troops were able to use the portal there to cross the gorge again. Enemies have entered the dungeon. Talia and the Absolute Evil had finally reached the evacuation point for their tactical retreat.
Phew, that was really something. We urgently need a way to stop Tanos again. I still have that sharp-pointed spear, just pining for Tanos' head.
To be able to stop Tanos again, it would probably be necessary to reassemble the Gauntlet of Finitude. However, the stones that filled the gauntlet were scattered in all directions. It would take some time to round them all up.
Of course. Nothing in this stupid dungeon series is ever easy. Any sensible person would think to themselves, boom, let's just beat the crap out of him and that's it. But no, I have to go through the countryside and collect some stupid stones. Okay, fine. Let's get this over with so I can get back to the point where I put Tanos' head on a spear.
The Finitude Drill. Talia and the Absolute Evil were able to escape from the gigantic Tanos. To defeat him, they would have to reassemble the Gauntlet of Finitude. But before they could do that, they first needed the Stones of Finitude. Some of them should be able to be found nearby. But Talia and the Seeking Evil were not the only ones hunting for the stones.